So let's go ahead and get into the news and notes.
News and notes from around the league.
All right, I want to start with Keenan Allen because we didn't have a chance to kind of talk through that injury on the show yet because it kind of broke after we had done some recording. So Keenan Allen's gone. I mean, he came quick. I think he was on pace for 134 catches, almost 1,500 yards. He's setting the league on fire and ended his season on a great catch in the end zone.
It also escalated very quickly where the news was it broke.
He's going to miss a week.
Keenan Allen might have a kidney injury.
Right.
Then 5 minutes later, Keenan Allen on season-ending IR.
Yeah.
It really sucks for of course, Keenan Allen. And I think Phillip Rivers does take a slight hit. We did talk on the Tuesday show about the waiver wire, who you picking up to replace him, luckily. And it was Stevie Johnson then. It is Stevie Johnson now. I think Stevie gets a huge bump because I believe that he slides into that Keenan Allen possession role, which is a big role right now for San Diego because they cannot run the ball.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. I was surprised 18 carries from Melvin Gordon last week. Only 54 yards out of it. But Antonio Gates has to benefit from this, doesn't he?
Of course.
Doesn't he have to climb way up your list in terms of like rest of season tight ends? We already know the schedule's pretty good for Phillip Rivers.
I think he was already high enough where I'm not sure that he climbs over anybody that he was already behind.
Well, we talked on the show. You guys, we said Barnidge. We'd take Barnidge rest of the season over Gates. I don't think I would do that anymore.
Well, I believe you said that.
And here's the problem.
Mike and I did.
Yeah. But here's what for the Barnidge factor, something that we need to consider now. Johnny Football, it's clearly he's playing tonight. And do the Browns yeah, get your Bengals defense in the lineup, people. Do the Browns move because the season is now lost for the Browns, especially with the loss tonight. I think that cements that their season is lost. Do the Browns go back to Josh McCown to just salvage a couple wins? Or do they try and see what they have in Johnny Football that do they need to take a quarterback next year in the draft?
I think it's going to depend on Johnny Manziel's play. The decision will be made for them in a sense, right? If he comes out and stinks, they're not going to say, he's our starter going forward. We got to see and lose. I just don't think that'll happen. If he comes out and plays well, then they'll have the opportunity to publicly make that decision. So it's really going to come down to that. And honestly, is he going to play well on a Thursday night game against the Bengals?
My point more was that Gary Barnidge was invisible when Johnny Football was on the field.
Gary Garbage those first 2 weeks.
Now he's a tough read.
He's emerged. Gary has
being
emerged.
worked into the offense more too.
So but quarterbacks play very differently.
Yeah.
Some target the tight end, some do not. So there could be some Gary Barnidge concern if Johnny Football ends up being the starter.
I completely agree. So let's go ahead and talk about Ryan Fitzpatrick. I said my stream of the week was the Jets quarterback. Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to give it a go.
Yep.
He was seen practicing, throwing the ball. They said he's going to play. He's got that torn ligament, but he's going to start. So are we much more confident with our Jets?
Yeah. Even a one-handed Ryan Fitzpatrick I'll trust over Geno Smith.
A two-handed Geno Smith.
Yeah.
All right, so some guys that missed practice. Let's talk about them. Willie Snead missed practice. T.Y. Hilton, Brandon Marshall. What's the story there?
Well, the T.Y. Hilton one I think is the most concerning one, where he had an MRI on his foot. We're not exactly sure how severe the injury is yet, but it is an absolute situation that needs to be monitored.
You might get the benefit of monitoring it this week because you probably weren't going to play him.
Against Denver?
If you had a better option, I'd be playing anybody.
Yeah, this is a blessing in disguise. It was kind of like how last week I was very much not playing Hilton because of Norman, and I would do the same again this week because of the Broncos.
Okay, so what about Marshall? We don't really know what's going on. All I've heard is sore toe, sore ankle, but he's sitting out. So we still have to watch this. Does anybody benefit in a big way? I mean, Decker.
If Marshall is out?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just Decker. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the last guy I mentioned there?
The need for Snead.
Willie,
that one's a little bit disconcerting because nobody knew he was injured. There was no play where it seemed like he came up injured, but then he completely missed practice not on a sit and get extra rest type of thing for a rookie. So that's just one to monitor. as the week goes on.
Yeah.
See if he practices Thursday, Friday.
He did play 87% of the snaps, so maybe they were just giving him a rest day. But like Jason said, we're not sure yet.
All right, we didn't talk Pep Hamilton's firing. Gone, offensive coordinator of Indianapolis. He was a longtime coordinator of Andrew Luck all the way back to Stanford. He took the fall. I don't know if he should have taken the fall for that kind of play, but he took the fall. So now Rob Chudzinski comes into you remember he was a head coach for the Browns.
Yeah.
So do you expect, is there any projections fantasy-wise for this offense?
I expect everything to be exactly the same.
Okay.
Yeah. And terrible this week. I think Frank Gore's the only guy you could play.
Okay. Sounds good. And what else do we got here? We got Antonio Andrews being announced as the workhorse
By a new coach.
Mike Mularkey.
Yeah.
So is this a bunch of malarkey?
Well, here's the deal. It's really, really working out for them to have Antonio Andrews as the workhorse.
So they'll keep winning, keep winning games.
He's
looked the best of everybody.
Yes, and you have to expect it's true, and sure, he's worth a flyer if you haven't already scooped him up, but you can't expect huge things.
All right, it's Goldilocks time in San Francisco. Blaine Gabbert gets a start over Colin Kaepernick. I saw a funny graphic yesterday, although it was a little misleading.
Yes, of
but
course.
It was basically comparing Cam Newton, the MVP candidate statistics, with Colin Kaepernick, the now benched, maligned loser quarterback, in everybody's mind. The only real difference, there was a difference in touchdowns, 11-6, but every other number Kaepernick was the same or better at pretty much. So, he probably needed to sit. That team's awful. The running backs are awful. That team's on its way to a number one pick maybe. Do you start anybody against, any defense against the 49ers right now?
Yeah, all
Ooh,
of them.
Juicy.
All of them. I don't know if people remember this because we love to be so stuck in the now. The official streaming defense strategy in years past was stream a defense against Blaine Gabbert.
Oh yeah, that was a solid strategy.
That was the go-to strategy, and
Yeah.
you would Andy and I would have competitions. We would see a defense 5 weeks in advance. You're like, I got to grab them now because I know that someone else is going to do it and they're going to give me 20 points.
You got to gab that defense.
So, yeah.
Gab it.
So, Falcons, strong play this week.
Very strong play. So, one other bit of news you might want to know, just Bruce Arians out here in Arizona said that Michael Floyd is essentially going to take back that starting job over John Brown. And he just kind of, the way Arians talks, the Cardinals play in 3 wide receiver sets almost all the time. So, it's really somewhat inconsequential. But Floyd has been playing very well, and he is he's certainly going to be a trade value to you compared to John Brown.
Yeah, and Brown really took the job because Michael Floyd was busted up. So I'm not too concerned about it. I think they're all all the Cardinals are feasting right now. So
and I did forget, superstar Joseph Randle has been released.
the burglar.
Well, Mike was down on Joseph Randle all year, said he couldn't do it, and then he gets in trouble with the NFL, and he no longer can do it.
Yeah. So we got some of that right.
We're back on the Kristen Michael watch.
No.
Yeah, you actually dropped Kristen Michael this week in our League of Records.
I had to because he's had too many chances. He had the opportunity to take the job. Darren McFadden is a strong fantasy option right now. Somehow it's 2015, and I'm saying that. And Michael he's just one of those really high upside handcuff type guys at this point.